random thing ever. I had like this. I went to try to go to sleep. She's watching these bulldogs at the moment. It's snowing their head off. So I'm like, I can't sleep. I'm out. So I go on the couch. I grab a glass of wine. It's like midnight at this point. And I just, all of a sudden, I had this sense of motivation, like this weird spark. I'm like, no, I'm not going to try and go to sleep. I'm just going to follow this. I need to follow this. So I sat down and I started writing down a couple of questions. What do I want for my life? What do I want to achieve? What's a compelling vision for my life? Why do I want to do the things I want to do?
Yeah.
When do I want to achieve them by, or at least somewhat of a timeline, and why I want to do it. And all the things I always put out there, I was like, this is really cool. This is driving me a little bit. But that's about it. Right. It was just a weird time that at that night I did it.
Yeah.
And then I went, okay.
Was it a full moon or anything? Anything
Probably.
cosmic going?
Probably.
How long ago was this?
This was a couple of nights ago.
Yeah, a couple of nights ago.
Yeah.
It was the full moon, like Tuesday or something.
Yeah. Would have been
Wednesday, actually. Was it Wednesday? Yeah, Wednesday.
Wednesday brought everything together.
Yeah. I had the same kind of thing. But yeah, keep going.
Yeah, so this was like a Monday or Tuesday night. And I'm writing it down. I'm like, okay, cool. And then I just sat there and go, okay, how do I want this platform to work, and why do I want the platform to work? And I started writing down the stages and what I wanted to achieve, and we ended up with a five. I say we because I think it's a team effort with everyone that's going to be building this. And I came up with these 5 stages, and I went, each of these stages is compelling in its own right, that it can have massive success. Like every single stage here we're talking about has the opportunity to become a massive success. But that didn't drive me yet. So I went back to my whys and I went, well, I want to be able to give back, but I don't understand how. I know this, actually doing this is going to help thousands of people. I know it. But that didn't still compel me enough. It was really strange. I was like, why doesn't this compel me enough? And then on the Wednesday, I was on the train to Chatswood to this short film festival. I was listening to Tony Robbins, believe it or not, and he was like, give 10% of your profit at all times, your personal profit, and give it to somebody else. You have to give it to somebody else, otherwise it's not going to drive you. Okay, I guess I can do that for my company. Yeah, cool. Still kind of in half about it. I didn't really get it. And then I watched one of the first or second videos on the short film festival, and it was about a school in Kenya or somewhere else. It was a different story than I told you before. And you know, you think a really broken down shack, the teachers there, the kids are learning to read and write. It's break time, and all the kids run out of the class and they are playing soccer. Except this one child is in a wheelchair. You know, think of a really rusty wheelchair, and the kid's just doing work. Anyways, in the break time, and the teacher goes up, why aren't you playing? I can't, I'm in a wheelchair. And she gives him some sort of weird story. I don't quite understand the story. But he goes up and rolls out of the classroom after it, looks at the soccer, there's 2 of them fighting. He whistles and goes, no, from now on, if any of you guys are fighting, I will give you a red card. I will be the referee of this game, and if anyone plays rough, I will be giving you a card. And I was like, yeah, let's do it, whatever. And for some reason, that strangely inspired me. I was like, yep, I need to give 10% of my company to people with disability internationally.
So it connected to something benevolent in you, a sense of a virtue to connect to.
Yeah, and it was always about not just giving, but giving worldwide.
Yeah.
I went, okay, well, 100% got to do it, done.
Awesome.
And I went, all right, cool. And all of a sudden I get so empowered and whatever you want to call it, something weird takes over you. And I've had it since.
Yeah.
It hasn't stopped since.
You had that like a God aspect kind of hit you.
Yeah, you're like, holy shit, this is greater than I will ever become, and this is such an amazing, I need to make sure this happens, and there's absolutely nothing that's going to stop me from making this happen. So I went, okay, cool, had this amazing inspirational thoughts, feelings, whatever you want to call it, and it was absolutely amazing. Then I started walking around after the short film festival, and I started talking to everyone. And it was really odd, because I was in a strange mood at that place. I mean, just at the end of the short film festival, they stopped the film festival and go, all right, guys, we're going to have a dance, you know, everyone get up and dance. And there's people on stage with disabilities, from Down syndrome to autism, Asperger's, you name it, and they're having a dance on stage.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the guys is trying to get everyone else to dance. One of the promoters, if you call it. Nobody's getting up. I'm like, you've got these individuals who I guess have labels on them, who are judged more than you will ever be judged. And you're too afraid to stand up and dance.
Mm-hmm.
And I was lucky or privileged enough to get VIP tickets of all things. Like, what the hell, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sitting on the top. You know how they always have the two at the top and they go around and these are mainstream at the bottom. And I went, I'm just going to get up and start dancing.
Yeah.
So I start dancing up. Everyone looks at me. Hey, I'm cool with this. I start dancing, right?
Yeah.
Got a lady next to me from Screen Australia going, come here, come on, let's dance. She's laughing her head off, she's dancing. Got this other lady next to me. I'm like, come on, get up. Got this 50-year-old women start dancing and everyone in this little podium starts dancing. And soon after, everyone's dancing. I'm like, this is really cool. So you can imagine, I'm just in a really strange, weird mood. I'm like, I have no fear whatsoever. Let's just go with this. Anyways, that was a really cool experience. Then we walk out after drinks and whatnot, and I have a drink, and I speak to producers. I've produced Dr. Phil and a whole bunch of other people, and what they would call high society, if you like. Right? And I'm kind of going, okay, having a chat.
You're with all the management teams, all the guys who call the shots. Yeah.
Yeah, actresses, actors, producers of Australian TV and movies, that sort of stuff. I'm not bored out of my mind, but I'm like, you're struggling with the exact same things that other people are struggling with, but you just have a different medium to outlet, and the only difference that makes the difference between you and some of the people elsewhere is the amount of money you're making.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only difference between you, but you for some reason look down upon them. I don't understand why. Anyways, having these discussions, network, as you do. And I see one of the guy that I told the story about, right? See him, he's got a little watermelon vodka drink, and I'm like, nobody talks to him.
Yep.
So it's like higher society, if you would call it.
The whole who you know concept.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're all about, we want to have inclusion and we want to showcase this inclusion, but it's not because they actually want inclusion. It's like they want inclusion to make themselves look better.
The image of inclusion.
Yeah, you've got someone here with a disability who's just won the award, yet none of you guys are talking to him.
Mm-hmm.
And when your words don't match up with what you're saying, like your actions don't match up with the words that you're saying.
Yeah.
So I just go like halfway through the producer, she's like, pretty little thing, and I was like, thank you very much, it was phenomenal speaking to you. I'm going to speak with him now.
Yeah.
And I just started having a chat with him.
Mm-hmm.
And that was so more interesting than speaking to any of the other guys. It was, this guy went through some of the biggest challenges. He's like, I've battled with depression, I've battled with anxiety, I'm bipolar. And when I first came out and said, hey, I want to produce this film, it was absolutely, I want to really do this, and I saw this. And went up to my friends like, hey, you want to help me? You want to help me? Help me. And it's like, no, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. And he felt really rough at that point.
Yeah.
Like, but he's like, yeah, you know what? I'm going to make it anyway. I'm going to go out there and I'm just going to, be an actor for all 3 roles. And I'm just going to do it. And I did it. And then I got so nervous submitting the film, and I submitted it. It felt great. And, it was rough. I was battling with, anxiety throughout it, depression, you name it. But I submitted it anyway. And look, I guess I've got some sort of acting ability.
Yeah.
And this is amazing. And I won. And that story was so much more compelling and so much more interesting than people talking about inclusion but not acting in inclusion.
Maybe that's why nobody wanted to talk to him, because it's that whole thing of that they knew that this guy was the real deal. And so, God forbid that they might be caught out acting it out or faking it. Where here's a guy who's had the experience, come from it, from a real deal, didn't necessarily use any of this structure that was in place, this high society as you call it, and there he is, but nobody's talking to him. I wonder what they're running from,
Absolutely. But it was just a phenomenal experience, and after that I was like, that is so cool. This is awesome. So, like I said, I had this weird feeling, and that kind of just cemented it in a different way, because I was like, I can now see the contrast, and this is really, really cool.
That's awesome.
Then the next day, I've got a whole bunch of interviews lined up for interns of all things. I'm like, interns. Last week I had interns as well, but it was just, I was like, yeah, they're cool, wonderful, your team, maybe let's have a chat, whatever. But this time was a bit different. First guy comes in 40 minutes early. What the hell, this guy's keen, what's going on? And instead of me going into the room with him, whatever, I'm just like, man, just chill for a couple of minutes. And during that time, he starts talking to one of the other guys who's on board, who's been with me now for 4 months doing what we're doing. And they have a chat. And they just click like I've never seen it before. I'm like, this guy fits. This guy he gels within the culture and what we're going to achieve. Perfect. This guy has some sort of weird drive within him. I can't put my finger on it. He's got something different about him where he's like, I'm going to make it happen. Anyways, turns out he just came into Australia, comes from Nepal only a month ago.
Yep.
This is his first time ever, and then he's just completely full of life. And I was like, holy shit, how did I attract him? And then he has a chat to the other guy that's working with me. And they have a good chat for 20, 30 minutes. They're talking about philosophy, about Hinduism, they're talking about coding, they're talking about anything and everything. And I was just like, what just happened? What just happened? I know this is the norm in this office, that we talk about everything, but how did we track that? Like,
yeah.
It's cool. So I'm like, in my mind already, I don't really give a shit about his skills.
Sorry, I might have missed a piece. This is somebody that's come to your office
for an interview. For an interview.
Yeah.
Right. Like to the point they're talking about, does masturbation kill some of your soul? And like, this is like, fuck, these guys 20 minutes in, I'm like, I don't really give a shit about this guy's skills anymore.
Yeah.
This guy fits in the team. There's something weird about him. I gotta have him. So 20 minutes later, they're having this guy. So I'm like, hey man, you wanna have a chat? He goes, okay. He's now not feeling that nervous, and he's like, my hands are sweaty, and I heard the story, man. You sweat a lot. I heard it. Don't worry. I've just got 3 questions for you. He goes, yeah, what is that? What can you code? I'll write it down. Do you have your own computer or laptop that you prefer using? Yes. When can you start? And he goes, I can probably start tomorrow if you want me to. And I'm like, okay, come in on Monday, bring your laptop, let's get started. He's like, what? Let's just get started. Dude, you are the perfect fit for what I'm trying to build. You fit into culture more than anything else that I've ever seen. I haven't seen in a very, very long time. You're on. He's like, okay, cool, awesome. And this guy was quite kind of not visionary, but he challenged the status quo. More so than I usually see in people.
Yep.
Like, oh, perfect.
And that's important for you.
Absolutely, because what we're building here is something that completely challenges the status quo. So it's kind of gone disrupt the market, if you want to call it. I think it's going to disrupt the market, but we're going to call some headlines, and yeah, it's going to be interesting and fun. Then, second person that comes in, again, they start having a chat. My intern, that's not right. The guy that's on board, that's probably the best way to put it, Corey, let's go with Corey. So I was having a chat to the second guy that comes in right after this guy. And he comes in and has a conversation with him again, and this time it's a lot more structured, but this guy finished his PhD thesis on algorithms and robotics and AI and whatnot, and they get full into this AI conversation and data and whatever. And this guy's got, again, he's got a similar drive or something about him that the first guy had, but he doesn't challenge the status quo. He's just very procedure-based and very logical and goes out of his way to find out more about whatever he can find out more. And I kind of going, this guy gels in the team again. What is going on? This is not 2 out of 2. What is going on? I don't understand. And we have a chat. I mean, he has a chat with him first, and they don't get as spiritual, or they get a little bit spiritual, not spiritual, but they talk about all this other stuff, robotics and AI, and get really deep into the stuff. And I went, this is amazing. I don't know why, but let's go with this. Have an interview, have a bit of a chat with him. Yep, you're starting. And he goes, what? You're starting again Monday. Same thing, exact same thing happened again. And I went, well, we can't get 3 out of 3 now, can we? And by the way, these guys look all completely different. So then the third lady comes in, a graphic designer. And she has a chat to Corey, and somebody's come in, and they have a bit of a chat, and it's cool. And I see her work, and I mean, if we sit down and have a chat to her, and I see her work, and her work is absolutely amazing. And I was like, holy shit, her work is really, 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 really good. Like, her drawing abilities is full on. Like, she's drawing real life, I guess, portraits and animals. They look like a photo has been taken. I'm just going, holy shit. Just I'm amazed. She shows me some of the other work, and it's not just the work that she's showing me is amazing. She's like, oh, this is another thing that I made, but I didn't actually go. But it's a stool out of cardboard. You can use it as a table or a stool. It holds 200 kilos out of cardboard. So I'm thinking, this girl sees something in something that more than other people see. I don't know what it is, but again, she sees something I can't see because I would not be able to. I would follow the box.
So you're interested more in that inner character.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we get talking about what I'm wanting to build, and she starts getting really, really emotional. And I go, oh shit, what did I just touch upon? I didn't mean to touch up. I mean, I don't want anyone to become emotional. And she says with her a little bit of a story, and she's like, can you also like create this into mental health as well? Because I think what you're creating for people with disabilities, you can actually include mental health as well. That's a possibility, absolutely. And she starts sharing her story with a boyfriend, ex-boyfriend, I'm not too sure what happened, it's 100% there, who is battling with mental health issues to the point that the more she was trying to help, the worse it was getting, and she had to pull away from it, and she was quite emotional, and it was just like, wow, yep, alright, when can you start? She's starting on Thursday. And it was like 3 out of 3 were just perfect. And I went, what the fuck just happened? The one common thing that I found with all 3 though was each of these have this ambition, this drive, this somethingness about them that I couldn't explain, that excites me. But none of them have ever been able to have a platform for where their work or their thoughts or whatever they're doing can be shared. Because I think they all are such massive dream stompers, so they all just do it for themselves. They do it for their own sake, creating amazing things, but nobody's ever saw it and kind of go, you need to get more of this, do more of this. And yeah, 3 out of 3, I was like, oh, shit, man, what just happened? But you see how it was like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday?
It's also aligned.
Yeah, and I'm going,
yeah.
What the fuck? And then the 4th one was a miss, was kind of a miss. And I'm like, okay, 3 out of 3, pretty cool, pretty good.
Oh, you got a bit of a holy trinity going on there, that's all you need.
Yeah, okay. Cool, alright.
That's awesome.
So I went, Corey, what are you working on? He goes, dude, you know what the weird thing is? I go, what? He goes, I've been sitting on these expression of interest for a government application for the last couple of weeks, and it was only today that I've started writing it, and I think I've got it completed. So it's our expression of interest to fund what we want to do. I mean, we're going to do it anyway, but it makes it easier if we can fund it. It's just holy shit. I mean, how is everything just happening this week? And then I think Anthony Robbins next week will accelerate the shit out of it.
It'll really help get that extra inner oomph out of you.
Yeah, and I think the inner oomph is already there. So this is just going to take it a whole new level of oomph.
That's awesome.
And then I'm thinking of having a trip maybe on a Tuesday or Wednesday after it to really just cement the shit out of it.
Oh, yeah. Sweet. That's really cool. Really going in a good direction there. Everything is very synchronous when you really align yourself to that whole new age thing that they talk about is align yourself to your energy. What you put out, you attract. I think that's more. It's not even a thing in terms of the universe, God, and all that. It's really just the science of nature in a sense.
Yeah.
And it seems that you've really aligned yourself to that once you found the whys, got rid of the fear, all those lower vibrational things that are pulling you back. Yeah, that's awesome.
It's remarkable. It's fun. It's enjoyable.
Yeah, cool.
It's weird.
It is very weird when you're there.
The funny thing is that I was dreading every single one of those beforehand. So the film festival beforehand, I mean, yeah, it's really cool. And then I was like, oh man, I got to talk to people.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't really know. Oh shit. And I remember speaking to Luke, he's on board as well. And I'm going, don't really want to go. But I'm going to go anyway. And he's like, yeah, just go for it, see what happens.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I go. And then I went and just bang, 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 bang.
Yeah.
Everything else is just absolutely aligning. And it was like, that was one of the not driving factors, but it was like a point where something changed. I just got up out of my seat, started dancing. I saw the video. It was just this most random things that kind of just gave me this oomph, and I was just like, yeah, all right, that's exactly what I'm feeling. I was so present throughout the moment.
Yeah.
The entire time I was like, this is cool. This is really cool.
It's that whole being present, and it's I think that fear is what fear can really get in the way of being present. It's something that's always keeping you just a step behind the present moment, because just in case you make that mistake every single time, the fear will hold you just a bit back, but then you're always going to miss the mark because you're just a bit back.
Yep.
You'll be just off target. It can get really frustrating when you're just off target, but once you realize that it's like, okay, I am my own sole creator, I get to choose where things go. In a sense, I can be godlike if I choose to, so I'm going to do that. And not going to worry what anybody else is going to think. This is assuming you're doing something that's a positive force, which generally breeds more positivity.
Absolutely.
In a sense, like you said, you stood up, you started dancing, you felt good about it. Then the next person who might have been a bit like, oh, I'm not sure, I'm a bit shy, but then suddenly starts having a laugh and gets up as well. And it always seems like that it just takes that one person. Then you have two, so you have a pair going on, it looks more normal. But then once you have three, you got a party now. Once you have a party, everybody starts jumping in.
Join in, yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. Cool. I've actually been recording.
I figured you would be.
Since the beginning anyways. Because that was a pretty cool story coming from you.
That was a cool story, man. It's yeah. It's a really cool way of feeling. Really cool way of feeling. And I think it's going to continue on as well. I know it's going to continue on. That's the beauty of it. I haven't felt this alive in a very long time, and I felt pretty alive, I'd say, for a majority of the last 2 years. But this is having the cake and eating it too. That's what it feels like. This is exactly what it feels like.
That's awesome. You're hitting the mark, and you feel like, okay, now we're here. We know where we're going. Just got the work. Actually, I think that's a huge thing. It's that whole unknown, when you're not really sure where you're going, and it takes a lot of patience. I think that's what I hear a lot from a lot of the motivational speakers. It's like have some patience. It's not always going to go your way, but if you push through, and then if you're hitting the mark for at least a certain amount of time, it's good enough. And then when you get that dip and it starts feeling like it's not going anywhere, it's more just trying to get you to reshift, so that anxiety is normal, but you just, the waves have changed, the winds have changed. You need to just readapt yourself, reestablish your whys, all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely. The way I see it now, what we're doing, because I think it's quite remarkable and quite enjoyable, if it fails, so be it. It's one of the it's a really strange fact. It's not going to fail, because I know it's not going to fail. But if it fails, you know what? I know what I want to achieve, and with the group around, I think there's going to be some remarkable things that we're going to achieve. But it's the how that changes. The why stays the same. The how simply changes, and it might be, okay, this platform didn't work. Let's go with something a little bit differently. But we're going to continue it on. It's going to be different. It's the how changes, and not knowing where it's going to go can be really exciting. And instead of having sort of anxiety in regards to it, it can be really exciting, because think of it this way: when you're a kid and your parents said, "Hey, we're going there somewhere," you'd be excited for it, not knowing what you're going to experience during that period. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But for some reason, along that way, we stop feeling that way, and as soon as we think we don't know what's going to happen, all of a sudden it's going to give us anxiety. We can also be really, really excited about it. I like the uncertain because I think it's really cool.
Yep.
Obviously, there's a couple of areas in your life you probably wouldn't want to be uncertain about.
Yep.
So you want to have some stable things. But for this business or a dream, whatever you want to call it, I need uncertainty.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of, that drives me. I don't know where it's going to go, but it's going to be really, really exciting.
Yeah.
But
Keeps it adventurous.
Absolutely. I mean, the why is strong. I've got an idea of where I want to go. I mean, the idea is quite concrete. But if that doesn't happen, I will find another way. I know it will. And I think for every problem, as long as you get creative enough, you're going to find a solution for it.
Mm-hmm.
Think about it. Every single problem, 99% of the times, if you get creative enough, you can find a solution for it.
So how do you stay creative?
You just simply you got to have the problem first and don't get too attached to it.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as you start to get really, really attached to it, you can either become creative because of necessity, which can work, but it's quite blinding. But if you don't attach yourself to it, knowing that, I guess the question is, I'm not going to let it fail. So what are some other things that we could be doing right now?
Mm-hmm.
Or start having the conversation with other people. What can we do? And invite other ideas and minds in there too.
Mm-hmm. So that creativity is more in a sense of just how many more alternatives can I create here, so that there's always a pathway to go down, so that I don't feel like that I must do it this way or I must go in this direction, because that can be very limiting.
Absolutely. But then you got to have the commitment to choose that one way and 100% commit yourself to that one way. Burn the boats, as they say.
Mm-hmm.
Burn the rest of the boats. This is the one you're going to go for. Test it out, see if it works. If it doesn't work, change it. Then you go, okay, well, we've got these other things that we thought about previously. Let's go with those. And the more, I guess, alternate realities, as what you said, you can choose from, you can tend to start going, well, this one's got pros and cons, this one's got pros and cons, this one sounds like the best, let's go down this path and see where it leads. And you commit yourself 100% where it leads. And you kind of go, yep, oh no, I got stuck. Why did I get stuck? Can I build upon this? Did I learn anything through this?
Mm-hmm.
And 99% of the time, you're going to learn something out of it. You're always going to learn something out of it. So if you learn out of that one way that didn't work, it's not really a failure. It's just simply a learning process. You figured out another way of not doing something a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
So you just go and change it back. But now all of a sudden you go back to the drawing board and you've got different paths now because you've learned something new. You wouldn't have had those chances and those opportunities unless you've gone down that path.
Mm-hmm.
So every single time it's uncertain, but you know you're going to learn something from it.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you're going to get your ass kicked, which more than likely is, yeah, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. You just get back up and kind of go, what did I learn out of my ass kicking here?
Mm-hmm.
Let's move forward.
So the reality is that when it comes to those items, whatever you're going for,
Yep.
when you have that anxiety, when you have that fear, it's almost like there's really no choice. There's no choice. Of course, you can fall into your comfort, but then you'll always be saying, what if?
Mm-hmm.
And there's no growth from that. It seems like it's just, you can look at this philosophically, you can look at this scientifically, rationally, however you want to look at it. I think you'll always kind of get to the same point that you really don't know unless you take that leap.
Absolutely.
And part of learning is taking that leap. If you look at how a child grows, a child grows by making those mistakes. So half of it is modeling parents to get some kind of structure going, and modeling whatever caregivers there are. Then they apply that to the world around them, and they learn. So I'm gonna let's say if they have that toy model thing where you have the different shapes in it, and they're gonna try the square and put it in the circle. They might try 10 different ways. It's just not gonna go in, and then something might finally click and go, well, what if I try put it in the square? Now imagine if you had now let's not put babies in danger. Let's just take an adult for a case and do that. But let's put something in there that'll shock you when you put it in. But then there's a reward as well. So I'm just coming up with some random scientific experiment, whatever. You saying you have a shocker, even if it's right, but if you get it right with the shocker, then there's going to be a reward.
Yep.
So I guess that question is that thing. It's like, you know, you're gonna get shocked, but you gotta like go through that to get that reward.
And learn to love the shock.
Learn to love the shock. Embrace the pain, so it's not as painful.
Absolutely, it's no longer something that you dread. It's something you look forward to.
Yeah, can't run from the pain. Definitely can't. Yeah.
We should try this experiment out with somebody.
It's only just in its to work out how to make that actually work. I think that's very cool, actually. Yeah, and test out, shock them anyways.
Yeah, test them out anyway, but they
see what happens.
Yeah,
see if they'll go through it. You start shocking them like, no, you can't. Like shock them 100 times till they hold through it. Maybe use a taser.
Maybe use a taser. A taser's a bit extreme. A taser's a bit extreme. You're down on the ground. Okay, come on, get back up. Get back up. But I think one of the things we should try out, if we were to try that out, is try it out with different people who, I guess, some people who would call themselves successful and people who are just starting out.
So the question is, would you get tased for $1 million?
I would do it for free. I just want to see. I want to find the experience. I would love to see what the experience is like getting tased. I think it'd be strange and a weird experience. I'm sure it's going to hurt like hell, but I can say I've been tasered before. That's cool.
Yeah.
One of the things I always said, I want to be shot just in the leg though, just to see what it feels like.
I don't. There's a lot of damage that comes with that though.
Yeah, maybe just a flesh wound, man.
It's just a flesh wound.
Just a flesh wound.
Yeah, still.
Okay, we'll go with taser then. Would you get tasered for $1 million?
I take an arrow to the knee, see what it's like.
You see, but then you've got, I don't know, would you prefer an arrow or a bullet?
Neither. But if it were to happen, let's say I had no choice and it happened, I actually don't know what I'd prefer between the two. I think an arrow, just because I really want to know what it's like to go the traditional way.
Okay.
So imagine, because I was always imagining watching like those old medieval battle films, and then they have all the arrows going, and it's like, you could be the coolest warrior, but then just take an arrow like in the head or something, and then just, that's it. Because you have to just run through the field. So I thought, what would it be like with an arrow? With a gun though, it's just, there's not as often they get into that whole close combat thing. I just like the whole that whole chivalry concept of the honor of the battle and that kind of stuff. But anyways, that's...
But it would be cooler too. It's a lot more manlier getting hit by an arrow than a bullet.
Yeah.
Because if you get an arrow stuck in your knee, you got to break off the ends now and pull it through.
Yeah.
So you kind of got to embrace the pain and pull it through now.
Yeah. But then what about all those like World War II guys who would like fish out their own bullet and then tie it up? And,
yeah.
I
prefer the arrow too now.
I prefer the arrow.
It's a lot more manlier. It's a bit cooler. Yep, I've got arrow. Brendan, pull it out, man. Let's get the knife, heat it up, come on.
There was a video I saw of like a Russian dude, Russian surgeon, who I think he injured himself or something out in the ice, and then he performed surgery on himself, like to get rid of, because it was so swollen and pussy and it would like cause a huge problem, and he just he has a whole video of him doing surgery on himself in the moment. Pretty cool.
It's very Russian though, isn't it?
It's super Russian. Yeah, the crazy people. That's why a lot of people don't understand them, because what drives them is so different to the rest of the world, and I think they've kept out of without trying to get too political. I think they've kept out of the American idealism a lot. Like they still have their own version, just different. But that's why I think there's a lot of misunderstanding, and politics also ruins culture anyways, so everyone's fucked. but there's a cool determination behind that. Yeah.
Like, think about it. Well, I don't know if 90% of people would die from this, but how many people would actually go and operate or not play the victim is probably the best way to put it. Because once you play the victim, you've got a pussy leg, you're going to die. He would have died. But because he didn't play the victim, oh shit, well, I'm in this situation now. The only person that can get me out of this is myself. And that's a remarkable insight anyway. Let's do this, whatever I need to do. And I'd love to see it actually getting done. That's it. But that mindset and the determination behind that, I think is amazing.
Let's actually get onto that point of playing the victim. How do you feel about that whole concept?
How do I feel about it?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's sad to see. It's the difference between fixed and mind growth. So playing the victim, I mean, there's so many different terms for playing below the line. When I see people playing the victim, half of me feels for them, and the other half of me going, you're putting yourself into this.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't get somebody out of it. I 100% believe you can't get somebody out of it. You can show them the doors, they can only walk through it themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen a lot of people go through this, but the one thing I would say to people who are playing the victim, and sometimes you can be playing the victim in certain parts of your life, not all parts of your life. The one thing I would say out of it, take complete responsibility for all of your life. Even the people around you, take responsibility for it.
Even if you're justified to be,
even if you're
to be
justified,
a victim in a sense.
Even if you're justified, even then, even more so, should you not play the victim? Because only then can you get yourself out of it.
Yeah, because it's like asking somebody else to change for you.
Absolutely.
Even though you're angry at them that they did something wrong, but chances are that they did that something wrong, not understanding anyway. So what are you expecting somebody to just flip like that?
Flip, absolutely. Yeah, I see it a fair bit playing the victim. I really don't like seeing it. It's the one thing that really gets me.
Yeah.
Because I see it and I see potential within people, and the only potential, and then the potential dies. Because I mean, when they die,
it's a more of a disappointment in the.
Yeah. Disappointment. I feel for them.
Yeah.
Because I've been there. I've played the victim before, where you kind of and it could be through work, it could be relationships, it could be anything, where you go, well, if only I had, or if at any moment you start your sentence with if only I had, or if they didn't, or if I had this, or anything like that, you have just played the victim.
Yeah.
And it's an incredible realization that if you start looking at your life that way and you start catching yourself out going, if only I had this, oh shit, I just played the victim hard. How can I rephrase this? What do I need in order to get through this? Is then a different question you can ask yourself. Then you might list all of a sudden, this is what I need. And the next question is, how do I get that? Don't link the two together. Don't say, if I had this, then no. Figure out a way. There's always a way. There's always a way on getting what you need.
So the question is, how do I not be a victim?
Catch yourself out on those questions. If you start asking yourself the questions, or start blaming, or blame your resources, is probably one of the biggest ones. Catch yourself out and start to think about the questions you're asking yourself.
And what about in the realm of not necessarily relationships, but relations between people, where it can get a whole lot more complex? Because it's not necessarily saying I don't have the money now to do something, or I don't have I don't have the right mind frame to do something, or whatever it is. What about its stuff when it comes down to this person is holding me back, or I feel weighed down by so and so, and they did this to me, and therefore I am justified in it's that whole thing like revenge. Is it sweet? Is it dangerous? So how do we deal with playing the victim in the complexity of socialization, social circles?
Tell me a time somebody's ever held somebody back.
Tell you a time?
Yeah, tell me a time where somebody has ever held somebody back. The only person that can ever hold yourself back is yourself.
Yeah.
So even if somebody starts to attack you and you feel justified, and this is one of the biggest problems, people feel justified. If somebody starts going off at you for whatever reason, or starts blaming you for whatever reason, and you start to attach additional emotions to it and additional reasons, you are playing the victim. They've attacked you, and so what? You need to let go. If you don't let go, they're not holding you back, you're holding yourself back. Again, it's a thing of the people you surround yourself, family, friends, some of them are going to be the way they are. But if they are affecting you, it's not that they're affecting you, you're affecting yourself in the way they're acting. Okay. Sure, there's probably some toxic people in everyone's life, and sometimes you need to limit your time with them.
So it comes back to getting creative. Finding
Absolutely.
options that you... you're really limiting yourself by saying that either that person has to change, or I need to get back at that person in a sense, right? So that creativity is, there's alternate options. So we can go, all right, so I'm the victim now. How can I improve this situation so that I'm no longer the victim? So how can I empower myself? How can I change my thought process? Is it necessary to be upset? You know, are we literally arguing over spilt milk? And even then, in the great drama of things, it's always spilt milk.
It always is. It always is.
It always starts with spilt milk.
It always is. But it's if you spill the milk, or they spill the milk, regardless, and they blame you for spilling the milk, you can go, okay, they're blaming me. I feel for them because they're getting so emotional, riled up right now about something that is nothing. Why am I going to join them and getting emotionally upset about it?
Yeah.
I can go, it's spilled milk. You're upset. Cool. You do you. I'm going to do me. I've got control of my own emotions. I've got control of my thoughts. Why would I let you affect me?
It's that kind of battle between our kind of primal self, that irrational primal self, and the human, you know, these enlightened human beings, conscious human beings that we're becoming, who can make choices. Absolutely.
I mean, the spilt milk, there's always the option of you can laugh about it. It's spilt milk. Have a laugh. It's funny. You're getting emotional about the spilt milk. I think that's hilarious. Why are you laughing at me? Because I choose to laugh at spilt milk.
I think also that it's very hard for a lot of people to step out of a black and white kind of mentality. It's either one way or the other way. Why can't it be both? So why can't it be? So we go, okay, it is painful, it is annoying, it is frustration. At the same time, it's hilarious. I'm gonna stop thinking I'm so special for a second, decide that I'm nobody, and take a step back and look at it as if I'm watching a movie. Because at the end of the day, we're all players in our own narratives.
Yep.
So when we take a step back, realize we're just playing a narrative, and we can say, is that quite comical? And not be so serious about it. And just, even if you do it as a thought experiment, it doesn't mean that you're unjustified. It doesn't mean that that you're accepting that you've been wronged. You're still being wronged, but it's more taking a step back and having a laugh, and then suddenly you can realize all these other ways of being just because you gave that thought an opportunity.
Absolutely.
And so then you go, oh wow, I can laugh about this. Oh wow, we can both laugh about this maybe if you want to. Oh wow, we can actually let that go and maybe understand each other a bit better. But that's something
that you're wishing for
difficult.
something. Now you're trying, and by doing that, you are actually understanding them a lot more. If you put yourself out of it, you're going to start understanding them a little bit more, and it tends to diffuse the situation a lot of the times. Not always, because some people will hold on to those emotions for whatever reason until they feel justified.
So what about taking that into context in terms of personal success and following your dreams? Because it's a very personal endeavor usually. And then you have your personal life. So there's that separation in a sense. And you often find people going like, oh, I don't have time for my family anymore. Or the other way around, people going, I can't deal with my work, I can't deal with my life, I can't face my dreams because I'm facing a lot of stuff in my personal life. So if we take that into that realm, how do we find a balance?
You got to first define what does your balance look like. A lot of people will not define what the balance looks like, and balance is different for everyone.
Find your boundaries.
Find your boundaries and balance. I mean, a lot of people say, I want to have more work-life balance. Okay, fantastic. What does that look like? I guess I spent more time with my family, or less time with my family, whatever it might be. Okay, spend 10 minutes more. You've just found your work-life balance. If you didn't define it, you don't know what you're aiming for. But if you're staying for weeks, months, even years, some people say, I don't have enough time. or I don't have a work-life balance. What does it actually look like for you to make you happy?
Mm-hmm.
Define it, then create it. You can't create something if you haven't defined it. But people enjoy playing the victim.
Mm-hmm. Which stops them from being able to define it
to begin with,
as in how they choose it. Because I think a lot of that victim mentality is externalizing.
Mm-hmm.
So how can I define what I want if what I want is based on what somebody else wants?
Yep.
So how do you get to that, your truthful self, or how do you be true to yourself? I think a lot of that victim mentality is a bit of an illusion that your ego plays on yourself to stop you from getting there.
Absolutely. It will always try and hold you back. You will always have it. There will always be voices in your head going, why would you want to do that for? Are you good enough? These people aren't helping you. This person said, and you really respect this person, this can never work, etc.
Mm-hmm. So how do you define your boundaries? How do you come to defining them?
I sit down, pen and paper, write them down.
Mm-hmm.
This is what I want. And if I'm not receiving X, Y, and Z, or I'm working towards X, Y, and Z, why am I doing it?
Mm-hmm.
Scrap it.
So how can we get somebody to be truthful about that? Or let's say we take an individual who's not so stuck in the victim mentality world.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say sometimes a light bulb can just switch on, but sometimes I think somebody can be quite deep that they need the right social support to pull them out.
Yep.
So let's say we're taking the example of somebody who's aware. They've got that, they know that spark is there, they feel it, they know they can make their own choices, but they're unsure at times when it's somebody else's voice in their head, or they're deluding themselves about something, because we can be very we might think we have it, but sometimes it can just slip away like that. So how do we get somebody to define those boundaries and stick to them?
I don't think it matters too much where they come from. The reason why I say that, it's a learning curve. I mean, if you can get to your own voice and your boundaries and your vision, and it's all you without any other influences, phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
The chances of that happening are pretty low at the beginning. Okay.
So it's a process of getting to that.
Absolutely. You can't just go from one to the next and then you're going to have this amazing realization and then you drive everything and it works. I mean, that'll rarely work. Okay. What will happen is that you'll go for something that will be influenced by the people around you. And you commit yourself 100% based on whatever that might be, whether it be in a relationship, business, whatever. And you will get there and then realize that's not it. You will fail. But that makes you. Because now you've realized, I've gotten here, I've had these external influences, I've had this realization that this was actually an external influence. And now you kind of fall a little bit and kind of go, wait, that wasn't my view. But you need to get there in order to have that realization. You need to fall. Which means you need to burn the boats and go 100% at it and go, I'm ready to fall if it needs to. And that will be a learning curve. If it works, that's a positive too. So either way, it's a positive. You're going to learn or you're going to get what you want.
So it comes back to fear at the very core of it. Finding where is that little voice of fear inside, just creeping about, stopping you, holding you, even though it's you who is playing that little fear game.
It's always you.
It's always you.
The only person that's holding you back from the life that you want is yourself. There's nobody else. There's nothing else.
Despite all your circumstances.
Your circumstances doesn't mean shit. It never does. The way I see the circumstances, basically, how many resources available do you have to get to where you want to get to? Some people have more resources, some people have less. But it doesn't stop you from where you're wanting to get to. Okay. Regardless of how many resources you have, you might have it a little bit easier. Cool, fantastic. But your easy is somebody else's hard, and vice versa.
And I also find it doesn't necessarily mean that you have more or less problems.
No, absolutely not. You just have different problems. And where some people will go, okay, you've got more resources, but therefore you're actually lacking in resources that you're not even aware of. While other people, because I've had, and you can look at connections as a resource. You can look at your mind as a resource. You can look at worth as a resource. You can look at...
Well, it's like that common thing with people who have wealth. A lot of them are extremely depressed or suicidal, etc., etc. So it doesn't necessarily mean that it's the wealth will make you happy, for example. So having resources, it's, you know, unless you might have resources but nothing to do with it.
Yep.
So then that might be something that that messes with you.
Absolutely, and it would. I mean, if you've got all these resources in the world and you don't know what to do with it, I mean, you can spend the resources and enjoy the time of your life. That only gets fun for a certain part. And you kind of expand that and kind of go, okay, what do I do now? I don't know. And that's depressing in itself. If you've got somebody with absolutely no resources whatsoever and they're going through, well, we need to get our necessities going. We need a roof over our head, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
That can get really depressing too. Okay. Either way, it's depressing, but you are the only one that's going to make it depressing. It's what the resources you have and what can you achieve with it and what can you give with it.
Yeah.
And why you want to achieve it. It doesn't have to be an achievement per se. Look at me, I've built this, cool. It can also be an achievement of, I've got a charity, I influence the people around me in a positive way. It can be whatever you define it as. But it's got to be compelling enough for you. And from one thing that I've realized, it only ever becomes compelling not only for if it's for yourself, but it's for other people around you. If you're doing something just directly for yourself and what you can learn through it, and it fails. It fails every single time. You'll get to a certain point and you're not going to be happy because it doesn't give. There's something about humanity where we get this weird rush of endorphins that when we give, it drives us.
We're social creatures. We're herd animals.
Absolutely. And I think whatever you want to achieve, always look at it. If I achieve this, what does this allow me to give? Because if you look at what does this give for me, you're going to fall short. Or you're going to hit it and you're going to be really depressed.
So let's put it this way, that it's not so much about... Because I think a lot of people might get conflicted because there's there's so much word saying like, don't worry about what other people are saying. Do it for yourself. Follow your dreams. Fuck all the others. You know, don't let the haters get to you. All that kind of stuff. But I don't think that's necessarily that can be taken in the wrong way. That somebody might say, "Well, fuck all of you," but at the same time, I think the way I see it idealistically is that what it's more about is you need to fill your tank up first, so that you have the energy to give more
to others.
Out to others, and to be, and then being more specific, because then somebody will say, well, that's just justifying you wanting to take everything, because then you'll give, and then you'll be the 1% to take everything and give a little bit. But then I'm talking idealistically, and being honest with yourself is it's like that. Like what you're saying with your business idea, it's maintain that 10% or maintain that 20% or whatever you feel is enough, and go forward with that.
You have to. You absolutely have to. But remember, you get more energy the more you give. So it's a vice versa thing. If you fill up your tank first, you start to drain your tank at the same time. If you can fill your tank up at the same time while you're giving, you're going to get so much more than you ever expect.
Because you're going to receive, it's going to be a cycle.
Absolutely.
Because somebody who's received will be compelled to then give back, that the pay forward.
It's a paid forward method.
Yeah.
And it doesn't necessarily mean that one person is going to give it back. Just remember, give without wanting anything back. Give in secret is probably the best way to put it. Don't ever expect anything back. Give it just because you want to give it. Don't expect anything back from it, and you will receive 3 times the amount, not from that one person, because some people will just take.
Don't get the ego involved.
Don't get the ego involved. That's cool. Just give, and give for the right reasons. And the right reasons is you don't want anything back. It's just you actually are giving without expectations. When you give without expectation, you'll receive it back, but don't ever expect it back. Even from one person, it can come from random places. And that's going to continue to drive you. It's going to create a compelling vision for you, because you're not doing it for yourself. You're doing it for others and yourself, because you're going to learn through it. But all of a sudden, these other people will come to you and going, "Dude, thank you so much," or "You've changed my life," or "You've done this," and all of a sudden, that's going to have more of an impact than a dollar figure ever will. That will be the influence that's going to keep driving you, and it's going to keep filling your tank up. Because what better tank do you want than somebody going up to you and going, "Hey, I love what you've done. I thank you so much. You've changed my life around." What better can fill up your tank than something like that? Or someone who can say, "Hey, you've helped my business grow to such an extent that I've been able to look after my family. I've been able to do this X, Y, and Z." That will fill up your tank more than anything else ever will.
Mm-hmm.
And when you don't give, you're never going to receive something like that back. If you're expecting it back, you're not going to get it back either.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a fearful thing to give without expecting anything.
How do we hold on to these ideas in a world where we're confronted with this whole idea that there is this whole postmodern idea, I think, if I'm getting it right, that there's no everything's an interpretation, therefore there's no right or wrong. You have the freedom to do whatever the hell you want, choose whatever you want. You know, how do we, amongst all of that, still maintain that quality of character? You know, how do we hold on to that?
That's a tough question. It's, I think, first by defining character. I mean, even the definition of word of character, it's chiseling away at something.
It's a bit of the virtue ethics.
Yeah,
touches on that.
It's character is not something that you're born with; it's something you chisel away at. So it's not the quality of character that you're holding onto, but it's actually what kind of character do you want, and start to chip away some of the characteristics that you have that you don't want. Get rid of, and keep the basic ones. It's a lot harder to stick stone on stone than to chip stone away. That makes sense. So try and get rid of the characteristics that aren't holding to those virtues, that aren't holding to that quality, that aren't holding to the life that you don't want. Get rid of them. Just get rid of those characteristics. And what you'll find, the only things that you're left with are the positive ones. The ones that serve others, the ones that serve yourself, the ones that empower you, that inspire you, that create the life that you want. A lot of times it's about saying no, not yes. And sometimes it's got to make really, really tough decisions, because it's the tough decisions that grow that character. You can never say that you've ever had a moment in your life that was easy, that you've grown from. You will never have it. It's when you make really, really tough decisions. It's those moments of truth. What do I actually stand for? I know I don't want to do it, but what do I actually stand for? And you make that really tough decision. And when you make that tough decision, you grow from that. And if you look at personal relationships, it can be from, if you look at a partner, it can be from, hey, let's begin, let's end, this isn't working. If you're looking for a family member, hey, I don't stand for what you're saying anymore. I don't believe in that, but I'm not going to give you the power over me. If you're looking at business, you can go, well, this isn't really a characteristics of the business that I want to be a part of. This 9 to 5 isn't serving for me, or it is serving me, or I don't stand by the values of this company anymore, so I need to leave. It's when we don't make those decisions, it's when we become incredibly depressed. But when we do make those decisions, and everyone's made those decisions in their life, it's when we start to create our own character, the character what we actually stand for, and we start to chisel away at the things that we don't want. And that's when we're going to create a life that we want and that you feel happy with, and the one that compels you. But it's those tiny moments, and there tend to be brief moments in your life that shape you. It's those moments of truth that create the life that you want.
So it's a matter of just face your experience, just do it, take the step, forget the fear, deal with it. If it's gonna go wrong, just deal with it. Get rid of the fear, because you never know until you really take that step. And quite often, if you're coming from the right place, I don't want to say if you're coming from the right place, because that's extremely subjective, but if you're coming from a place that is somewhat benevolent in a sense, if you're trying to not do harm, if you just just be a good person, put something good out there, then generally you're always going to be taking the right step. But just do it. I think there's a lot of fear that comes with just doing the good thing.
Absolutely. You never know what it's going to open. You can never connect the dots going forward. It's one of the things that I always say. When you go into the unknown, and I mean, when you're making a moment of truth decision, you are going into the moment of unknown. Mm-hmm. You don't know what's going to happen. And we fear the unknown because we don't know. We really don't know. That could be amazing. But one of the more things that we look at is, how can this fuck up our life? Mm-hmm. Right? Because all of a sudden your comfort is gone. Not having comfort is scary. But the funny thing is, when you get rid of your comfort, you feel alive.
Yeah.
You've felt something and you will feel something that you've never felt before, and somehow things will align for you in ways you never expected. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you were recording before about the story of Evan. I think that is an amazing and perfect example. If you put yourself in the shoes of Evan, someone who obviously has, lived with a lot of anxiety in their life. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, we're going to make a mountain out of this because it would have been a mountain for him. If you have a dream, a goal, a reality, something that you want to build, and this could be submitting a film for a short film festival, it could be starting a business, starting an organization, having a conversation with someone, whatever it might be, the mountain is the same. What you have to face is exactly the same regardless of the circumstances around you. And when you look at someone like Evan, that will be easy for some people because they've lived in that way, but it can also be incredibly hard. So let's just take the steps that he would have gone through. One step would have been, okay, I'm going to try and get the support of the people around me. And you can have these conversations with people around you and they can go, yes, no. But more than likely, if it's a moment of truth decision, they're not going to support you, or they have conflicting views because it's different. Mm-hmm. He didn't give up with that though. Okay. So instead of giving up with the short film festival and submitting, he went, no, how can I take personal responsibility and make sure this still happens? And regardless of what I'm going to achieve, I'm going to have the conversation. I'm going to make the movie. I'm going to start that business. I'm going to have the conversation I really need with somebody. So he went, okay, how can I get this happen? And now this is where the creative drive comes in. Okay. Mm-hmm. And this could be, how can I have that conversation with somebody? What would I say? How can I start this business? How would I do it? How would I create the film? How would I start? And one of the things he came up with was, I'm going to be the actor for all three of the roles that is in there. Mm-hmm. In the business, it could be, I'm going to try and get somebody else to come along with it. Or what skills do I need to learn to be able to do X, Y, and Z and execute on it? How can I have this conversation in a way where I feel like I'm getting across? Is it via paper? Is it via an email? Is it via conversation? If the conversation, what would I like to portray within the conversation? And then you'd have to take the action. The action is the biggest thing that you need to do. And when you take that action, you will feel free. And everyone knows they're going to feel better after this. Everybody knows that deep in their hearts, you know that having a conversation, starting that organization business, filming that film is the right thing that you need to do. That's the funny thing. We all feel it. We all know that that's the right thing to do. But we're too fucking scared to have that. To have those moments of truth and define our lives the way we want it. Mm-hmm. So everyone went, okay, I'm going to do it myself. So he does it himself, goes through the action, and I mean, it would be scary for a lot of people to jump in front of a camera. Heck, I get scared jumping in front of a camera, let alone somebody with mental illnesses, with anxiety, depression, etc. You're taking things to a whole new level now.
Yeah.
That same mountain is the same as having a conversation about business, whatever. And he submits it. He fell over the moon. Didn't expect anything for it because he just did the right thing that felt right in his heart.
He's just happy by doing it, regardless of the result.
Absolutely. And it's the unknown that would have been incredibly scary for him. Mm-hmm. But the funny thing is, he did the unknown, didn't expect anything out of it, felt great at the end of submitting that movie. Would have felt, think about it, after having that conversation, and we've all had those conversations. Yep. After starting something, a project, an organization, you feel phenomenal. So we know what we need to do in order to feel phenomenal. It's the unknown that scares the fuck out of us. And what came out of it? He won the best actor in Australia for it. What the fuck? When we start having these moments of truth, things will fall in place that we cannot foresee. We can't foresee it, and we can't connect the dots going forward. You never can. The only thing we can do is we can act exactly what we need to do and want to do and should do. Should is probably the biggest word there. Should do. And let the dominoes fall. And things will connect exactly the way they're supposed to. And you're no longer going to feel that hovering above you, that what if, that the scary unknown. Because all of a sudden you face it and go, oh shit, was that it? And then you take that example and go, okay, well, how can I apply this to other areas of my life? What other areas of my life currently am I holding myself back on? What other conversations do I need to have? What people am I surrounding myself with just because, even though I know it's not the right thing to do? What projects, what business am I working for? What am I doing with my life that is holding me back in the same way? And then you start going, fuck, I need to have a lot of moments of truth. I need to take some big actions here. Fuck.
You need to make some mistakes.
You're going to make so many mistakes, but again, it's character.
Yeah.
It's chiseling away. And all of a sudden you'll find yourself again.
Yeah. Get back to you.
You get back to you.
Mm-hmm.
And the weird thing is you will attract the right people. You will have a better quality of life. But you can't imagine what that will look like. All you know is those moments of truth will shape who you are.
Yeah.
And you're no longer living a lie in a way. Not a lie is probably not the right way to put it. But you're no longer living a life that's determined by others.
Mm-hmm. Also, I think it can be very damaging to underestimate the capacity for the brain to learn unconsciously. That even if you make the mistakes or whatever, you might not realize. It's like learning a new skill. It's all of a sudden, I'm suddenly a bit closer to where I was before. How did I do that? I didn't tell myself to do that. Just knows what to do now. I think that's a concept that's often underestimated. It's like, just do it. Your brain will learn. It'll get there. It'll catch up.
It'll get there.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is when necessity kicks in, and this is what I said with burning the boats, which I think I spoke about in the last podcast as well, is that when you make those moments of truth and you actually burn the boats because you're now living the life that you want to, and you're going to go through really rough patches, that's when you learn the most from. And the funny thing is that starts to build your life exactly the way you want it to be. And it's amazing, it's exciting, it's fucking scary, and so it should be. Face it. But things will somehow fall in place perfectly that you didn't even expect for it to.
It's very true. Very true. And even when it doesn't, just try look for the silver lining.
Yeah, remember, it doesn't instantly fall in line. I mean, you're going to have some weeks and days, but the funny thing is you're going to feel so much better for having that, making that decision. For not just the decision, because you know the decision's in you already. You just haven't acted upon it.
Yeah.
And having procrastination, this is ultimate procrastination. When stakes starting to get higher because you've got some level of comfort from it. You've got some level of uncertainty from it. Whatever you're getting out of it. But having that procrastination above your head at all times is absolutely damaging to yourself and your mental health. And I don't think we have those conversations enough. I don't know if it's ever been a time where people have had these conversations or if it's nowadays. I have absolutely no idea. I've got no point of reference. Because I see people playing victim in old age. I see people not playing victim in old age. And we can definitely tell the difference. Age, it doesn't matter about age. It's just those moments of truth. When did we stop having those moments of truth? And that will start to shape. If you've got anyone ever who's incredibly successful in any or all areas of their life, ever question them. They have their moments of truth and they speak up to exactly how they feel, and somehow people align with it. We're afraid of what other people think, but if you just go with it, it'll happen. Things will happen for you. I don't think they ever happen to you. I think they happen for you.
They happen for you. I think it's a nice way to look at it.
Yeah.
I think touched on a few cool things there.
I think so too.
Definitely feel it's something I've been more and more applying in my own personal life and has been getting somewhere amongst all the roller coasters, each time I kind of come back to that line of thinking so that I can apply that to my personal circumstances and see, where can I get further? How can I do better? I think it does really help and work, but you've got to really be honest with yourself, take action, just go forward with it. Look for your fear, look for where fear is stopping you, and be really honest with yourself about that as well. Yeah.
It's also, who do you want to be?
Who do you want to be?
And if you want to, I don't think I've ever heard anyone who say, I want to be someone who's judged by others and not taking steps that I need to take because I'm afraid of others. I've never heard anyone say that before.
Yeah.
Yet so many people live by that.
Interesting. Very interesting. Anyways, I've got to go soonish.
All right, let's wrap it up. I think did we already end the recording?
I'm stopping it here.
Awesome.